As I was saying, the goal here is to build a spreadsheet together in order to explain how I usually make mine and how you can all get started in making yours. So we're going to start by getting information from Silver's API. The first step to do that is to get a list of keys and understanding how they work. So as I was writing, keys are kind of the parameters you're going to be using in your query. And in order to build this, we are going to just make a new query. We're going to get it from another source, from web, so that we get the Power Query setup. So we're just going to do it like this. And here we see that it's imported as a JSON. And we have a list of all the queries that are currently available in the API. So, I mean, all the keys that are available. We're going to convert it to a table because that's a cool thing. And here in the options, we should have the option to, I want to use the first, use first row as header. There we go. That's what I wanted. Perfect. So now we're going to close and load. It's going to build a new tab in which we're going to have our keys. Tab is going to be called keys, naturally. So here are every information that Silver's API can give us about items. And as you can see, there is a lot of information you can use, some of which are calculated fields, and others are just purely information scraped from the official GW2 API. For instance, rarity is, where was it, like type here, for instance, rarity over there. These are information that are scraped from the GW2 API, while stuff like 7byte listed, etc. Silver's is calculating for us. We have 144 rows, so 144 different keys we can be using in our spreadsheets. We'll talk about that later on. So now that we have our parameters, we need to build an API link for our query. For this purpose, I'm going to be very lazy, and I'm going to borrow it from another file of mine. So I'm just going to go into the data, I'm going to show the queries, I'm going to load my item data, and I'm going to be using the query from over there. So very simply, I cannot edit the query while it's being refreshed. That makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to wait for it to finish loading. Perfect. And I'm going to be going into the advanced editor and getting the link I used right off the start. There we go. I'm just a lazy person. So the link we're going to be using is going to be this one. It feels very long because it is very long. So building an API link for your query. Here is an example link we will use. Of course, that's how it goes. So here, what can we understand when we read this link? I'm pulling the information from Silver's API. I'm using the first version of it and I'm pulling from the items list, which is very important because there are other things you can pull, such as transaction history, recipes, etc. But here we just want item data. I want my output to be a CSV, and the fields I want to use, these are related to the keys list we pulled earlier. So for instance, I want the ID of my item, its name, by quantity and by prices, sell quantity and sell prices. These are all the very basic information you need to get started. Then what gets more interesting is the type and rarity. And we're just going to remove all of these fields that is not going to be relevant right now. We are going to be getting the last updated. At the end of our query, you can see that I have unfilter equals nothing, because my goal here is to be able to get every result possible from the query. I want there to be no filter. So we're going to use this link, and we are going to be building another query in Power Queries. Once again, we're going to go into the Data tab, New Query from Web, and we're going to paste our super long link. So it's building a connection, and as you can see, we have some information that's related as null, and that's no problem. We're going to be transforming the data because we want to be able to play around with it a little bit before going anywhere else. So there we are. As you can see, we already have a lot of information that is available. We have all the IDs, names, and we can reorder our columns. I like to have the type and the rarity before the rest of the information. Last updated, last. It is, however, a very important information when you want to be able to know when your item was last refreshed. So here we have everything we need, right? So we're just going to close and load. It's going to build another tab and put everything in there. And as you can see, it is loading all of my rows, about 59,000 of them. That's a lot of information, but that's what we're playing with. This tab is going to be named data, but I pressed tab so it didn't work. There we go, data. So here we have actually built our query in Power Query. But what if we want to add some other stuff to it, like some specific information? Then we go back to looking at our list of key. In order to add a key, for instance, we would like to see the upgrade that is available in item. We're going to grab the upgrade one here. And we might also want level. That could be interesting. Let's get level and upgrade one. How would I go around adding that into our sheet? Well, in order to add a key to your data report, simply put it between commas into the link above. So that is as simple as it gets. Actually, let's not put a dot. I hate dots. So we're going to get exactly the same link over here, and we're going to add things to it in order to prove that it is working just fine. So we can either make another query, or we could actually go back from working about that query right there. We're going to rename it, by the way, to data, because that's much easier to look at. And we're going to edit our query. So very simply here, we can go back to our source and modify it, or we can go into the advanced editor and change everything from here, which is, I think, the best way to learn about everything in order not to make mistakes. Still, we are going to be going with the easy way this time around. We're going to simply be editing this. So the information I would like to have, the extra information, was, as we said, level and upgrade one. We have added them. Now, since I'm going to be looking only at items that are marketable because I want to be able to do stuff with them on the trading post, I'm going to be removing the filter removal, which means adding the filter back in. We're going to press OK. And here we are having all the information that is needed. We're going to once again use our first row as headers. And here, the type changing, we're going to remove. Yes, I want to delete this step, and I also want to delete the reordering of my columns that I am going to be doing on my own right there. We're going to put type back in here. And we're going to have our level right over there. In the meantime, I believe we have lost rarity. So we actually need to modify our source again. Edit settings. Rarity last updated. I see what the issue is. Okay. It's actually within the advanced editor that the issue is. Deleted columns 9, columns 10. There we go. That should work a little bit better. See, there we go. We've got our rarity back. Whenever you see that there is an issue in your spreadsheet, you can always go back to the advanced editor, and simply by reading the code there, you can understand usually what the error is. So we have ordered everything in the order we wanted. It looks perfect. And we have removed all the items that are not available on the trading post. That is the items that are not marketable. So here we're going to close and load again. And as you can see, we're going to have much less rows loaded, about half of it. Actually, there is another information that we wanted to re-add in there. So we're going to go back to the edition of our query. And into the source there, we're going to advanced editor. We're going to go for 11 columns because we also want our last updated information. There we go. It's over there. Whoa, hi! Thanks for the sub. Streaming at this hour would. Well, I mean, I got home late for my defense. We're going to close and load it, and we're going to have our next tab that's going to appear here magically. The format for the time is not the one that I prefer, but it works out. That's fine by me. We can see the date, we can see the hour. That's completely all right. And now that we have all of this information, we can actually start working and building a sheet together that is going to be useful. A little bit of tea goes a long way. So, we've built our sheet. And I'm going to add a line over here to explain that the and filter at the end actually removes any form of filter. In order to add a key to our data import, simply put it between commas into the link above and use our query again. There we go. Now that the query is built and imported, we can start working. So here our goal is very simply to use whatever results we got from our query in order to build some usable data. So how exactly are we going to do this? Of course, it is going to be a little bit hard, but there should be no issue whatsoever. Let's think about what we want to build with this information. I think that a very interesting thing to build would be knowing what upgrades my exotic items have. I think that this is something that is rather useful. It would also make for a very good spreadsheet to build. I used to have one like this, which needs some upgrades. So this is a good starting point. So here we're going to build our new tab. We're going to very simply call it info. And we're going to do the first thing you should always do whenever building a sheet, and that's removing the grid lines. Grid lines are ugly. Never keep the grid lines. Grid lines are the spawn of the devil. So now that we are in here, what do we want to build? The information that I would like to have is my item ID. Then I want to have the name of my item. Then I would like to have the type of item it is. And we are going to add in here the upgrade and the upgrade name. I think that all of these informations are going to be good to us. There we go. So we want here, let's say, to look at exotic armor and what we can salvage from it. We're going to go back to our data. We are going to take the armor pieces. Okay, then we're going to filter them onto exotic. So far, so good. And then we're going to be working with stuff that we want to salvage to get the items out of. So that's stuff that has an upgrade. Here you can see that some have blanks. We're going to remove them in order to keep only items that have an upgrade. So here is the list of the IDs that we can use. We're going to get all of them by doing a Control-Shift arrow down. We're going to copy the lot of them, go into our info tab, and paste them as value. That's Control-Alt-V and pasting at values. Here we're now going to be converting them into, where's the convert tab? Text to column. That's really evil, my man, but that's actually what we're going to do. We're going to convert the data. Perfect. So that's now numbers instead of being text-based values. We can remove all of our filter by clearing filter clear. Now that we're in the info tab, we would like to have the names of our items based on the ID of them. So we're going to go with a simple VLOOKUP formula. Equal VLOOKUP. Here, the first thing we want is the value we're looking for. So that's my ID. By pressing F4 3 times, we're locking the columns. One go to the right. On the up and down. Then we're going to add a separator, and we need to go into the table or array that has the information. That's our data tab. We're going to simply get all of our columns here. We're going to lock them up by doing F4. And we need to count how many of them we need to go right towards in order to get the name. The name is in the second column, so we're going to put a 2. Finally, we want an exact match. And we're going to close our formula just like this. Here I'm actually getting... that's really evil. I see exactly which mistake I've done. I shouldn't have converted that. So we're going to go redo the steps real quick. And that's going to work like a charm. So equal VLOOKUP, $A2, we want data, exclamation mark. I think it was $A, $K, $K. Then we're going to go true and false. And here it's working. There we go. Very simple. And we're going to copy the formula by double-clicking the bottom of the cell all the way down. So here we have all of our item IDs, and we have all of the items' names that go with it. So far, so good. That is, however, a lot of data, by the way. That's 439 rows. That's a lot of effort. But I left Girl Wars for you. Oh my god. Oh my god, you left Girl Wars for me? I'm not as sexy as her, I'm sorry. And here we can actually get the type, but that's not exactly an information that's that interesting because we're working only with armors. And since we're working only with armors so far, we should rename our tab to armors, because that way we know what we're dealing with. It's very important to leave informations for yourself, because if you don't put information, you're going to get lost in your own sheet. That's very dumb. So here, we want to get the upgrades. We're going to build a formula that's exactly like this, but we want it, instead of getting the name, to get the upgrade ID. That's also very simple. We know that the upgrade is the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6th row from the first column. So we're going to take our formula, we're going to copy it over here, and instead of going 2 to the right, we're going to go 6. This is the ID of my upgrade. We're going to once again get that all the way down. Now our new goal is going to be to get the name of this upgrade, because that's how we're going to be working in order to know what we're going to salvage or what we're going to extract. So for our upgrade name, we need to do exactly the same as we did over here. This is an ID, just like this is an ID. So very simply, we can take this formula, paste it over here. Instead of pulling from A2, we're going to pull from C2. So now we have built a sheet that tells us, based on each exotic armor, what rune it bears. And now you can actually use it to filter among the pieces to know whether or not you can make money from it, right? But in order to know how to make money from it, what could we add as information? Don't understand, but I mean, that's literally Excel. I mean, that's what I'm paid to do at work every day, right? So the information we can add to this sheet is going to be very simple. We could, for example, know the price of this and the price of that, because then if we extract the rune, we know whether or not it is worth it. So here we're going to put item price. Is VLOOKUP better? I was always using index match. Index match is a stronger formula, and it is very good if you want to move towards the left. Actually, if you're only moving from the first column towards the right, VLOOKUP is going to be a simpler formula that's also going to use less resources in your spreadsheet overall. Because a lot of people don't realize it unless they're using really shit computers like the ones I have at work. But the more formulas you have within a sheet, the heavier it gets and the more effort it takes to run. So in order to keep your spreadsheet as fresh and springy as possible, you want to have the least CPU using formulas. And index match being a very heavy formula, I try to avoid using it as much as I can. So I only use it when I need to go left. Just download more RAM. Yes, but RAM is better, girl. That was a disgusting anime reference. Anyways, item price. We should actually rename that to armor price. And then we're going to put upgrade price, or upgrade value would be more interesting. Because then we actually tell ourselves what we're trying to make with these fields. Armor price means we're going to buy the armor, and upgrade value means we intend on selling that. So here we already have our fields completely built up. And what can we do with it? We're going to take this and copy it over here. In order to get the price of my piece of armor, I need once again to look here and see where the buy price is. It is the 8th column from the left. So here we're going to go change that, put an 8 over here. Now we can drag that all the way down. So these are the prices in copper of my armor pieces. We kind of want to make this easier to read. Twitch encouragement. Hey there, I'm here to encourage you to keep on streaming. You're doing great. Actually, that's very cute. Damn. Thank you. That's nice. I appreciate it. So we want to put this into something that's more easily readable, right? And since I'm a very lazy person, I'm going to actually borrow that once again from one of my sheets. I'm really an extremely lazy person. I'm ashamed, but actually I'm not ashamed because if you do the effort once, you shouldn't need to do it all the time. Doing up, there we go. We go back in here. We're going to go into home. We're going to use a custom format. And our custom format will be this. This means the price will be shown in gold, 2-digit silver, 2-digit copper. This stream is how to build a spreadsheet using an existing spreadsheet. Yes, except that everything will be in this sample spreadsheet that I will then make available, right? So, we want to use this setup, but actually, why is it being such a piece of shit? How much money are you selling this actual magic for? I mean, it's $1 a month. I'm actually wondering if the issue would be this. Actually, my issue isn't this. It always happened to me to Sam during demos. Feels bad. I mean, yeah, that is actually a feels bad moment because I have it very simply built over here. Actually, I'm actually wondering why that wouldn't be working. Is it because of the formula? I mean, let's just... Actually, since I've added it into the custom tab, we can just keep the values as is and build that for our last tab, which is then going to work. So now what we're going to do is exactly the same for this, but we want to get the sell price for our upgrades because we want to know the value of the upgrades. So we're going to go back to data once again, and the sell price is our 10th column. Go back there, we're going to put 10, and that's it. As you can see, the upgrade value is very low compared to the armor price, which feels bad, man. And now, finally, we're going to make the calculation to know whether or not there is profit. So salvage, profit. Good Live is rating with a party of 9. Well, thank you, Good Live. Welcome to your streamers. This is an excellent stream. Hopefully, you find it interesting. So, salvage profit is how we're going to call this. And our calculation here is going to be very simple. We're going to do equal 0.85 to take into account the trading post taxes times this minus this. And this is how our profit looks like. Kind of sad, to be fair. Normally, this should actually work. There we go. We have our salvage profit in gold, silver, and copper. This is very feels bad, man, because I think most of the stuff is not going to be profitable, but still, this is an interesting lesson. Yeah, right. Yeah, it looks horrible until you know that it's gold and silver, right? So now we've built the entire shield, right? So this is pretty good. By the way, we could actually make that work as a number by changing the data here. Like you can, we're going to see that right after because it's interesting stuff, but a bit more high end. And we're going to clean that up in the last step of building a good looking spreadsheet. So here we've used the VLOOKUP to get values. I'm going to add, it is the basic formula you always want to master first. Because with VLOOKUP, you can do a lot of stuff. Like you're not limited to using it, but using it already gets you a very long way. So now we've built our spreadsheet, right? Can you do one where you consider the chance for the inscription in senior to work? Yeah, but that's more high end, and that's the one I will update for the Patreons next month. I'm gonna work again on the crafting sheet and the salvaging sheet, and actually the one that is called runes and sigils has all of that information. It has the salvaging profit considering whatever kit you use or whether you extract and then salvage. I mean, it is pretty high end. But here, we're going to just be going with this very simple work first to show whether or not we're good. So, as you saw, we've built our salvage profit. And now, what would be rather interesting would be to see if we can make it somehow only show positive values. So number of filters, we want it to be greater than or equal to 0. And that's our filter. We're only showing values that are positive. As you can see, there are not many options that are positive, but still they exist. And that's taking into account that you're going to sell the extracted thing for profit. So not too bad. Now, let's think about making this a little bit nicer to the eye, and then we're going to work on more high-end stuff. So we're going to unselect all of this. In order to make it nicer to the eye, it would be pretty good to have colors for our fields, column, and everything. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to give colors to some fields. Here, we only have IDs, like IDs, names, that kind of basic information. So we're going to give it a very simple color in order to identify it from the rest. I usually go for an orangish color for that part. That color is kind of too flashy. That kind of looks like shit. We're going to go with that. Then for that part, we're going to be going with red because that's trading post information. So I usually go with red for that kind of stuff. Then we want the text to be in white so it pops out. Finally, for the profit column, I usually go for purple or a deep blue, and I go for white color as well. So now we have this built. We're going to put borders for it, and thick borders outside. And for everything under it, so all of this, we're going to look better before the colors. You're evil right there. I like my colors. We're going to be adding more borders because we want to make it easy to read and understand. We're going to go like this over here. We're going to thick, thick, and thick. There we go. So now that's much nicer to look at, right? That makes it easier. Once again, as I said, the filters make it very easy to see what's profitable or not. However, we could make it even easier to read, right? We could be putting in a conditional formatting. So we're going to add that to building a good-looking spreadsheet. Conditional formatting. With an H, because I don't know how to write in English, right? So we go back to our Armors tab. How do we do that? Conditional formatting. We're going to build a color scale. In order to make our color scale good, we're going to need to manage the rule we just created. So we're going to edit it, and we're going to have lowest and highest there. And instead of having a midpoint as a percentage, we're going to have it as number 0. Apply and close. So here, only the stuff that is going to be in color green is going to be of good value. See, green is good, green there, good. Green shades are what is actually usable. There you go. Yellow is the very average stuff. That's a good way to read information when you have values that are clearly separated. See, since a lot, what the fuck? I mean, that's probably an item that is very expensive. The minus 499. I mean, we can take them. They're probably salvaging precursors. I would bet it's precursor salvages. Actually, no, because that's armor. So that's Caustic Cues of the Cavalier. Oh! These are rare skins. All of them. Forged Beast Plate, etc. These are the rare Path of Fire skins, aren't they? So, of course, there's going to be very expensive. And the rune inside of it is kind of shit. So, yeah. There you go. So now that we've seen how to do all of that, what could we do that will make this a little bit easier to manipulate? We could go back to our data tab and we could work on it a little bit more. So in order to build a good looking spreadsheet, the last thing we could do is upgrade our data. So we're going to go back into our query and we're going to edit it, right? Data, we're going to do show queries. We're going to take this one and we're going to edit it. What could we do to make this a little bit better? Well, we could actually work on our columns. We can use data type, and here we're going to put it as being a whole number. There we go. We're going to do the same for all of these. These are all going to be whole numbers. There we go. Our ID, we're going to also make that a whole number. That's good shit. Level, you're also a whole number. Sounds good to me right now. And finally, for our date, we could actually make that into a very good date. Date and time over there is going to be put at the same way your computer is set, because your Excel takes their settings from your computer, and my computer says it's day, month, year, and then the hours have to be French time. So here we've changed the types of what we wanted to do. We're going to close and load the data again, and you can see all the values are going to change to the way I want them to be shown. Perfect. Here it's going to crash everything. Why? Because our IDs here are still text. How do we change that? We convert it to numbers. There you go. We're going to do exactly the same now. Thanks for the follow. That is very nice of you. AK2 false. Okay, that one is actually deciding to be a bit of a prick and send for the upgrade value. I see how that's going to be a little bit of an issue there, because I'm pulling the upgrades, and the upgrades here are text. So that's another thing we need to do. See, always stuff you can make better. So our upgrade one, we're going to make that into whole number as well. There we go. We're going to close and load again. It's loading all the data again. Clap, clap. That's what I mean by making a spreadsheet heavier and heavier. And here, actually, we're going to be able to put it into the same format as earlier, because it's not text stored as a number anymore. I mean, number stored as a text anymore. It's actually a number. So we're going to put it as our gold system right there. And here we have everything. Everything is built and is working, and we have all of our salvage profit. Here I think that it is actually more interesting to also do a number filter. So we're going to go back to the one we had earlier, greater than or equal to 0. That's our filter. And here we only have the stuff that is superior to 0. You can see what's truly worth it. For example, we have hands of the mesmer that are worth shit, and the rune of the mesmer is actually worth a fair bit. So here is, as you saw, a good way to get started working with the API from SilverS. I think that all of this is very basic stuff. I think we've been live for about half an hour, and this is the stuff that can be done in half an hour if you know what you're doing. We've explained all of the steps in our index tab, which is always the way you want to be working. You always want to have an index where you explain what you've been doing, so that when people use your sheet after you, they know exactly through which steps you've gone. If you don't explain what you're doing, you can't expect people to understand it, which is why whenever I build a spreadsheet, I put some stuff into index. Usually I copy paste it because it's always the same base. And I also explain stuff into Discord so that people can get to work with it. And here was a very simple example of how I get started. I think that this actually covers it for the stream. I wanted to do a very short one where I explained this very basic stuff because it was requested by a patron. They just came up on Discord and messaged me asking if I could explain how I make a sheet. And that's it. Very simple. If you've liked this demonstration, then you might want to check out my Patreon or subscribe on Twitch, because then you have access to a whole lot of such spreadsheets. And if you simply want to build your own, well, just watch the VOD back from the start, and you're going to have exactly the steps that you need to go through to make your own. So that's going to be it for today. I plan on trying to make a stream tomorrow morning, I would be moving my Guild Wars 2 account from EU to NA and trying out playing on that region. Because actually I've been thinking about doing that for a very long time. Yeah, it is about time I would actually get about to doing so. I've fought for too long. Now I need to take action. So yeah, I will wish you guys a very nice evening. I will go work on my own stuff on the side. And also, if you're still listening by now, I have a new YouTube video that is going to be releasing tomorrow. That is going to be talking about the wonder spreadsheet that I have been using as my backup here, the Forge Master. That is a spreadsheet that does everything about the Mystic Forge. So that's the one you can look forward to tomorrow. Now I'm simply going to look for someone to host or raid because that's the very nice thing to do into the Guild Wars 2 community. So let's get around with this. And that's going to be it. Guild Wars 2 directory on Twitch. Look for somebody to host. Get started with this. Actually, we're gonna go with Gildemem. Gildemem is a very nice guy. We work together on some stuff. You guys should do stuff with him. He's a cool fella. So we're gonna raid Gildemem.